wanted to create this opportunity just because we've been following the journey of the folks that went on the Camino Pilgrimage. You all were there when we prayed over them and blessed them to send them on their way. I'm sure some of you were following them on their journey via social media. And we wanted to make sure we took an opportunity during the forum hours, since we've been talking about pilgrimage and the journey we've all been on, the people of St. James, to have now our folks that went on the Camino de Santiago to come and I think if everybody who went that's here even shares kind of one main takeaway, we've talked about how the idea of a pilgrimage is that it's supposed to be some sort of experience of transformation. That the idea is that it should shape you or change you in some way so that you come back, you come back a little bit different in some way. Otherwise, if you don't come back any different at all, then what was the point of doing it? Right? So the idea of a pilgrimage should be, you should have some takeaway that you're gonna keep with you. So I hope that was the case. I guess we'll hear if it was not. And Dean Lisa, can I invite you to go ahead and get us started?
Well, I think you've seen that, which I will speak about this a little bit in the sermon coming up, so I think I'll reserve any further comment on this, except to say that it was a very rich experience. I was very grateful for the colleagues and friends from St. James who came along. It started for me as a quest. Could somebody like me, somebody who's not, I have a lot of arthritis in my neck, and it's just never going to happen that I'd be able to take my own backpack and sleep on floors and do all those things. So what started for me as a question, could I have a supported experience doing this? It was good. It was immeasurably better to be surrounded by my colleagues. So I'm going to ask everybody who was on the trip to please stand so we can identify ourselves. Quite a number of us are here. Wow, that is a lot. So I'm just going to suggest that we get into it. And again, if you want to hear my thoughts, you can go on the blog, but I'd love to have those who are present, who are comfortable doing so, sharing their thoughts. I know these two are always comfortable talking. This one is talking. I'm looking at the Mosses. Would one or both of you be happy to kick us off?
Well, yes, maybe I'll just sort of talk through just a few of the pictures that you're seeing so you can just get a bearing of what the Camino looks like. These are pictures from our first day. We walked about 70% of the time we were on the trip, so 7 out of 10 days. And the pictures are just going to scroll through a little bit of each of those days, and everyone can maybe pick the things that are most interesting to them. But just practically level setting, the trip was really about taking the time to walk through portions of the Camino. We obviously couldn't walk the entire Camino. Unbeknownst to me, there are multiple trails, multiple pathways on the Camino. We were primarily on the French way, which starts in France and ends in Santiago. It's about 400 miles. We did what they called the Horizons Tour, which was to take pieces of the Camino so that we were able to experience the different types of topography, some important parts of the Camino, like you saw in the video when we went to the Iron Cross. But it was really to give us the ability to experience, not only different parts of the Camino, but important parts for St. James. So the Camino is really sort of following the pathway of the Apostle James, our namesake, which is why we went on the Camino. And we stopped in various parts that were particularly important to James and his trek. Obviously as an apostle spreading Christianity. I think that sort of level sets where the various parts of the Camino that we experienced.
There is, and if you're comfortable, I know this is kind of like, immediate intimacy, but if there's something, a key takeaway that you had from it yourself.
Sure. Well, actually, a key takeaway for me is we're looking at the Hill of Forgiveness here, which was really in the beginning of our trip. I think myself, speaking just for myself, I was a little nervous about what this particular pilgrimage would be like. You're obviously hiking for a significant portion of a day, and there's a physical task that goes along with that. And what, are you going to be focused more on that, or is the spirituality of the experience going to be something that you can really lean into? And for me, the Hill of Forgiveness was the first spot where I said, okay, there's a reason why people do this, right? There's a reason why this pilgrimage, why there's a physicality to it as well as a spiritual aspect to it. And the Hill of Forgiveness is a part that you hike to that's relatively difficult to get to, and it is a sort of representation. There's an art piece there that's a representation of pilgrims that have come on the Camino, that have obviously done the pilgrimage on the Camino for hundreds of years. So there's representations, artwork representations of older pilgrims, meaning ancient pilgrims, all the way through to sort of modern times. And we read a biblical passage when we were up there, and we had a reflection ourselves. It was really the beginning of our Camino, and so it was the first time where I really could experience the sort of spirituality of the Camino and feel the importance of it to me. And obviously every one of us came on the Camino for different reasons. We had different goals in mind, and they were very personal to us, and the Hill of Forgiveness was really one of the first opportunities for me to experience that and be grateful that I was doing it with people from St. James in particular. People that some I knew very well, some I didn't know very well. We all know each other very well now. And then the other thing I'll say and sit down is everywhere. So Lisa talked about how you figure out where the Camino goes, where the trail is. There are shells, and these are the shells that we carry. There are shells everywhere. Because the Camino is following St. James. And so everywhere I turned and wherever I saw one of these shells, I thought of all of you. I thought of our church here. And that was a very important through line for me for this entire experience, that, there are people around the world that have churches named after James. There are people here, obviously, that feel very connected to this place. And there are millions of people that walk the Camino and feel connected to James in a whole variety of ways. So that was very impactful for me. Sorry, I have one more thing to say. The last thing, we ran into an American woman. We had stopped at an old monastery that was turned into Abergé, is that what it's called? Albergue, which is where pilgrims can stay. It's essentially a hostel. And she heard us speaking English and was all excited that there were English-speaking people, and although there were a lot of Americans that are on the Camino. But I had sort of walked away from the group to take a picture, and she and I got to talking, and she was explaining like the reasons why she was there and why she felt compelled to go on the Camino. And she asked me where I was from. I said Chicago, and she said, oh, I was in Chicago, and she starts telling me all about being in Chicago. She's like, I went to a really great church there. And she had come to the cathedral and did not know. I hadn't yet told her that I was from St. James and that we all were from St. James. And the fact that we met in this random place, I mean, we all remember it was very remote. We only saw a handful of people. But the fact that she had been at St. James and was so excited that this group of St. James parishioners was on the Camino, it just was a really impactful moment for me in particular. So with that, I'll sit down.
Thank you, Erin. Who's burning to go next?
Michelle.
Because I don't talk a lot. So I'll just get it over with.
All right, Michelle.
I'll dive in and get it over with.
Michelle's an 8 o'clocker, so she's been coming a long time. She's faithful. She's on our chapter, but you're like, but I've never seen Michelle. It's because Michelle goes to the 8 o'clock service. Carry on, Michelle.
In and out. So I went into this not really knowing what to expect. I went back and forth on whether or not I was going, and someone at the 8 o'clock HB asked me this morning, his first question was, how did you get off of work for that long? And I was like, imagine that, I'm not working right now. I'm off for 5 weeks. So that is how I was able to even carve out 2 weeks of not working to have to actually have a clear mind and clear space to do it. And I'm so grateful because first I got to know so many people that I didn't know in the church community, because I know the 8 o'clock crew, and that's about it. And so to just get to know so many other people in the church and hear their stories and their why for even coming on this journey, I think the most impactful part of it for me was actually all the quiet space and time that we had walking. Sometimes you're walking along, Adela and I walked along with each other a lot and talked with each other, but there are times where we're just walking in silence and you're just thinking, and I just allowed my brain to go wherever it wanted to go. Think about wherever. There were times when on the way to the Iron Cross where for no apparent reason I am like suddenly in tears and I don't know where it came from, have no idea why, but it felt like that was what needed to happen. And since I've been back, I have felt lighter. So there is obviously a lot of things that I left there. Symbolically with a rock that I got picked up outside the church. So symbolically with a rock that I left there with names of people in my life who have helped me and shepherded me through the different parts and the different challenges I've had along the way, and what I want to take into this next part of my journey. So this next part of my journey professionally and personally, and so I've come back happier and lighter and didn't have to go jump into a job, so it was even better. So I have had have another 2 weeks to think about and reflect on it, and so it was such a great experience. The walking part was the easy part for me. I'm like, oh, the walking part's the easy part. It was the thinking and the allowing myself to be like open to whatever God had to say to me.
Thank you. Very nice. Others who are, I know Fumi's ready to go. Oh, thanks, Mike.
Mike?
Yeah.
If the other two didn't know what to expect starting, that kind of describes me too. I bought a little diary, and I was going to keep track of what I did every day. Sometimes I caught up 2 days in a row. It wasn't that good, but my first entry was, did I prepare for this? I was going to say, I did prepare, but my preparation seemed to be in what am I going to pack, what's going to dry, what's going to launder easy. That seemed to be a lot of my preparation. So what about me mentally? What about me? What do I want to get out of this? And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not prepared. I don't know what I'm going to get. And that was my first entry for the first day. It's like, oops, I'm on the airplane and maybe I'm not prepared. And the second day, I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to go with this and walk and go down the path and just see where it leads. Okay? And the third entry was, oh my gosh, there's a path that just goes on forever and ever. Down out of horizon, you can't see anyone, or you don't know where it's going to end. I know it's going to end in the ocean, but where is this path going to go? And eventually, I was really aware of, I'm not on this path alone. And I don't really have to do the homework and the preparation, because it's going to come to me. And what was coming was, there's a community, there's people, there's a connection of people all on the same path, doing the same thing, a start, and we're going to the end of the world. We're going to something we can't see, some horizon that's out there, but we can't see it, and we know it's there though. And that connection of people in this journey and going on to the unknown really resonated with me. And I think my favorite, the click of this thing, was when we got to the end of the trip and went to one of the cathedrals in Leon. The second most important cathedral that displays original medieval glass. The number one was Chartres Cathedral in France. This is the second largest original medieval stained glass. And you walk in and you're just bathed in light and in colors that just goes up as far as you can see. All around you there's color and light, and there's just this vibrant, life-giving energy of life. And I was thinking, maybe that's what I'm getting out of this. The unknown has a light and it's giving hope, and it's drawing me someplace I can't put my fingers on, but I know it's out there, and it's just drawing me. And eventually Santiago, and eventually to the watch. But I think it's this path, this pilgrimage to the unknown, but you're terribly aware you're not alone. You're with people, you're with colleagues, you're with other pilgrims, and most importantly, we're with God. God's called us on this journey, and God is leading us. And I think that's what I got out of this most.
Thank you. I feel like maybe this would be a good point to ask if there's any burning questions, and then we'll ask for a few more people to chime in with their experience. Is there anything that folks came into this session with, wondering, burning questions? Yes?
This is really prosaic, but what kind of footwear do you
I knew there'd be a question.
I got Merrell's hiking shoes, but I had some from a previous hike, and it was a half size larger than my normal size, and they actually were quite comfortable. I thought I was all set, and then someone on our trip said, forget about half size larger, one whole size larger. And I would think, my gosh, I'm gonna slip out of there and trip. And no, they didn't swell. But and actually, I never had any blisters. It was secure. But as you're walking and moving and you're doing that so long, I never had any Band-Aids, blisters, no red toes or anything. I was quite so. If you are doing a lot of hiking, maybe consider a whole size larger. Footwear.
Thank you. Good question. Other questions that you came in with?
Maybe I missed this at the beginning, but how many miles would you think you actually walked of this?
Did anybody count?
I'd say around maybe 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think if we had done 100 kilometers, which is about 75, like we just missed, if you do 100 kilometers, you can get, but I think they have to
In
be
a row,
in a
yeah.
row. They have to be, yeah. You can get a Compostela, which is just your certificate that you've done this, but we opted for the bigger overview. But yeah, it was, well, and somehow I missed the memo. I was like, oh, I was actually going to just wear my street shoes. And because I didn't think, it didn't look like that much walking to me, 5 miles, 7 miles. I'm like, oh, I can do that. And thank God somebody said that's a dumb idea. So, because there were a lot of days of 8.5, miles. And we had some people, troublemakers on our crew, who I call them the intrepid trekkers. They were like, we want to walk more. And so, fortunately, we had a very good set of guides who were able to extend and make this bespoke experience for them. And I was not in that group. I have pictures of them, which you will find somewhere in there, of them kind of more to go. Any other questions? Yeah?
Where did you put your heads down at night?
Where do we put this was where we had never had to worry about it. We were taken from hotel to hotel. Our bags were transferred for us. I mean, this is truly the most supported version of this that we can do. And because of that, I think that really lulled me into thinking that's no big deal. I was trying to talk people into going, look, it's going to be so easy, and if you don't like it, it's going to. And they're like, I think it's going to be harder than you think. But we didn't have to worry about that. So these were hotels just slightly off of the Camino, as opposed to the albergues, which are pretty rough and ready. Yeah.
We just made it to the video here of the giant thuribles. Does anybody want to explain what's going on here?
Santiago, the end point of the Camino, and back in here somewhere there's a statue of St. James we'd all been through, and they're hugged St. James from behind, and at the end of a communion service, they pull out the thurible, and there's 8 guys here with a robe, and they load it up with the incense, and then it swings through the crossing. So this is the crossing, and the chancel is
Right, I want to hear anybody complain about the smoke at St. James.
It's got a big contraption up here that, like metal arches that a pulley system.
It was exciting, a little too exciting, because it's like a speeding train coming by, you know. We were guests of honor as people who had kind of completed our form of pilgrimage, and we were right on the front row, and I was right on the edge, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. I love smoke, because I don't like getting clobbered in the head by that giant thermal. Anyway, it was fine.
We saw two of them, actually. There's another one that was not in commission at the time, and it's
big. It's that big and about this tall.
Yeah.
I think it was over 6 feet tall.
It's over 6
It was over 6 feet tall.
I believe
Oh,
you
was
said
it?
it's
Yeah.
traveling about 60 miles an hour.
Oh.
So it's moving.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you. Other.
Oh, that's
Yeah, how do they stop it?
how does it stop?
Oh, it stops physics. They kind of, seriously, they kind of wait and they pull down on it, and that interrupts the momentum, and then the guy comes out and does this little twirl at the end with it.
There's like 8 separate ropes that are being managed by 8 different people, and so they work in concert with each other to slow it down.
And they said like they could do it with 6, but under that they can't actually do it because they'll just drive.
There were definitely some chinks in the columns going on. So, I'm not trying to die on this pilgrimage. So, anyway, but yeah, it's beautiful. Other questions? Yeah.
Will you be going back again?
Will we be going back again?
Next year or second?
It's too soon. For me, it was really great. I'm not sure I need to go again, but that's just me. Other minority, some people go and they get bitten by the bug, and they become, Camino hounds, which is a good reminder for me to say this to the group. Janet Volk, who you may have noticed, she comes to the 11 o'clock. She's a retired Lutheran pastor. She is with us on Thursdays at the 12:10. So you just have to catch her. You have to know who she is. But she comes and worships with us. Great person. She actually went on 1 or 2 or 3 of her own personal pilgrimages, starting I think a year and a half ago. And she just went and walked 10 kilometers and flew home, or no, whatever, 25, a stage or 2. Did what she could do in a few days, came back home. She went back and completed more of it. So she's stitching together a complete Compostela so that she can get that certificate. She may have done it. But she asked me to remind, or to tell this group, or to remind us, that she's queued up in January to do a forum on how to do the Camino as an individual. So that would be a very different experience, and I think she was a little skeptical about how it was going to go for us as a group because she experienced it as an individual. But I'd say that there would be, advantages and disadvantages to each way. But she is going to talk about that in January if you think you might want to try this on your own. I think the biggest commodity you need is time. Somebody asked how do you get the time to do this? And that's it. I know there's some people who blast through it in 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that, the whole thing. But I think in a world where I retire and then take 3 months, I could do it. But I'm not sure that's how I'd spend my 3 months. Anyway, go ahead. So other thoughts? Anybody else have an answer to that question? Oh, there's the Alto de Pro. That's the Hill of Forgiveness that Karen was talking about. And we're up high above Pamplona.
I'm sorry.
That's Pamplona. That's the Alta de Perdón, the Hill of Forgiveness. And these are the individual pilgrims represented from across the ages.
Mike, I'm seeing quite a few of the pictures with the little banner there. Did you bring it along? Would you play show and tell? Oh, there it is again in the photo.
It was great.
At one point, you all talked about taking the St. James banner we have in the church and realizing logistically what a challenge that would have been.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And our guides were really game. They were good. Other questions that were actually, how about the old hotties? Do you have something you'd like to share, either one or both?
Okay. Since you already ratted me out. Well, I went because I was the first to sign up, and I was very happy that against his wishes, he said, okay, fine, we'll go. And it was nice for both of us to be able to go together, because for those of you who don't know us, we're both physicians, and I was really carrying a lot of baggage. And it was really at the heel of forgiveness that I really felt that I could forgive the world on the state of healthcare. And the fact that so many people come to church, so many people are looking for healing, so many people want doctors to perform miracles, and we can't. And so for me, I was really thinking, should I just go and become a priest? Then I would have some comfort in following my true passion. But so on the heel of forgiveness, I forgave my husband. Because the issue is that, female physicians have to think about their family, so many things that are on you. And an unforgiving health system gets your family members to suffer. And some of you in this congregation have been helping my brother, who fell apart after our mother died. And so for 4 years after our mother died, I've had to sort of hold our family together. And all my brothers fell apart, it seemed. So to me, I realized how important James was in listening to his mother, and how his mother was trying to negotiate a place for him on one side of Christ. And then after Christ died, I can imagine the tragedy that meant to the early Christians. And then James just kept walking. I've got to clear my head. I've got to think about this mandate to spread the gospel. And so I kept thinking, my goodness, so we got this thing between us about, oh my goodness, all those Christians who just really wanted to do good in the world. And now the conversations we're having in our country is about what's the role of Christianity and what does it mean to be a good person. So I was like, you know what, I don't know what it means to be a good person. But when we finally got to, of course, the heel of forgiveness, all the relics that were put there for us to remember why we do what we do, right? If James had not left, and by the way, his mother called him back and then they guillotined him. So don't listen to your mother. Right? I was like, why did his mother call him back? But, so in that moment when we got to the cathedral and we saw you could get penance, that all you needed to do last minute, just ask the priest to forgive you. And my patients on their deathbed all just asked for forgiveness. I came back thinking, let's not wait until our deathbed. So I'm going to continue to go back to the hospital. I will be a doctor, and I hope that I will be able to teach the next generation to be present. So I'm trying to be present and to come to church when I can, but if I'm not here, know that I'm trying to do God's work as best as I can, knowing that none of us is perfect. And so I just really want to thank the colleagues. We had such great conversations. I now have my new best friend is Adele, because I didn't get to know her. And then all the people on the journey, and we've been in church for so long and we didn't even talk to each other. So I think as we come to church, I hope that we can continue to have these conversations, because that's what it's about. So yes, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Others, I again don't want to put anyone on the I see a hand going up? Yes, sorry.
Since this is the Episcopal Church, we are not anti-science, and we like to look into the history of our belief and our praise in the world. So I want to quote. So before we went on this, when this idea of Camino was proposed to me, I said, sound kind of interesting, but I really didn't know what to expect. So I thought I'll do some homework like I usually do when I'm dealing with things I don't know about. I'm a very curious person, and I think I like to be a history buff. I was surprised that there's a very scarcity of material on St. James and St. James and this whole Camino phenomenon. And in fact, the historical reference to St. James can be contained in one simple page. That's all we know about St. James. So I want to quote from a book that I've been reading before we went on the Camino, and because I think it expresses much better what we observe, and it can express a lot better than what I can come up with. It says, religious faith always has and always will transcend human reason. To merely function in this irrational, ever-changing world, individuals need to have some basic familiarity with the religious customs of their surroundings, or otherwise risk complete irrelevance to whatever path in life is chosen. Okay, what I get from this Camino journey is that St. James, this person, has a outsized influence, impact on the history and the culture of the Iberian Peninsula. Okay, he would be a poster boy for the hymn that we never sing in this church, Onward Christian Soldiers.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are myths and legends about how he was the leader in all the army that are charging through the various kingdoms of Iberian Peninsula, leading soldiers. This is what he was famous for. And many of the nicknames that given to him as Santiago and so forth, basically was trying to represent him as the leader of armies, soldiers. All right. So, but here we are. On the other hand, many people who go on the Camino like to think of him as a spiritual guidance. He might well be, but I don't know. Okay, that's something for us to think about. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, right. Thank you. And that's you're right. And this is true of many saints in the church. What we could say about them definitively, historiographically, fits on one page. And how do you know? You know by the legends and the way. In just the same way, how do you know a building is sacred? A space is sacred. It's sacred because of the way people treat it. And so the custody of this legend of James through the millennia now really is something that's received from human hand, heart and mind to human hand, heart and mind. And you're right to point out that there was a tendency to want James to be what they needed, which was strength and military might. And there was another person they tried to project that onto, Jesus. He was not the Messiah they were looking for that same reason. But anyway, other things. No pressure. Anybody else who was on the Camino who wants to say a word about how it was, or
Can I say something for Maureen?
Yeah.
Can we stop at the Hill of Forgiveness? Can we show the St. James
rock?
Just so everybody can see that.
Yeah, it's special.
And Adele, I don't know if you want to speak. I didn't mean.
No, thank you.
Go to the hill and then.
I have a few.
Oh, okay. Shola. While we're finding that, Shola's going to come up and share.
I struggled with the decision to go on the Camino because my mom was turning 95. And when your mom is 95, is still alive, you want to be there. So struggled on the phone with Fumi and
I had nothing to do with that.
But anyway, I decided I was going to go because it would be an opportunity to work with parishioners. And luckily, when we were in school in Nigeria, we did a lot of religious studies, so we knew about the people of the Galatia, we used to call it Galatia. So to me, I thought it would be a good opportunity to walk in the path of St. James, all the way. And what I enjoyed the most on the Camino was getting to know so many of our parishioners here. I mean, Fumi and I got married here 43 years ago, and we've been coming here for 43 years. So, but there were some in the group that we really have seen but didn't know. So having the opportunity to occasionally walk in solitude alone, we didn't always walk as a pack. The part of it that was most striking to me was when we were walking to the entire Camino was just incredible to just see the people, the millions of people who had walked that same path before us. But on the hike to the Iron Cross, which was the highest elevation, was about 3,000 or 4,000 meters, about 12,000. It was actually a nice, interesting day. It was raining, and we brought out our gears. We were not going to stop, but we were determined to just keep going. And as we were close to you could see that haze, that haze there. And for me, on that solitary climb there, it was clear to me earlier in the walk that we all carry burdens, and nobody can walk this road alone, whether on the Camino or in whatever we do. And in that light, I was, thinking about all the people that I had the opportunity to carry their burden and go lay it at the foot of that Iron Cross. I forgot to bring a cross a stone from home, but Fumi brought one for me. But on the way there, there are beautiful stones. There was a rocky area where we had to really walk a step in so that you didn't twist an ankle. On the way, I decided I was going to pick up another big one, a much bigger stone to put in my backpack, because I was thinking about it was an opportunity to carry the burden of a lot more people than the little stone that I had. And so I thought about my children, I thought about my colleagues, I thought about a lot of people that I knew had burden, because like I said, nobody could carry this burden alone. And being able to just get to that cross, make it there, and drop, I had two stones, the one that was brought down for me by Fumi, and the bigger one that I took on there. So that was very, very satisfying to me. And I left thinking that our lives is, truly a testimony to the goodness and greatness of God, because, look at us. We had a very privileged Camino, let's just say. People helping us, and other people don't. So I thought, my God, look at where we are. We're really privileged, and our lives really represents the greatness, the best, and the generosity of God. And since coming back, we've been trying to live it out and think that way, that nobody actually gets to where they need to be without, the support of people that you know, people that you didn't know. There was always help on that Camino in terms of where to go. And after we finished, we went to Porto and got up there, and we saw somebody who was just starting. And Fumi and I were so happy to point the Camino, this is the sign, this is where you go. It was really a great experience. And for those who have the time, I think it's a recommended, you can take all the time that you want. We were the renegade people. We wanted to just walk more.
Yeah.
But everybody should think about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to wrap up. I have to go print my sermon, but thank you all for coming, and I'll see you soon. soon.
So the only thing I'm just gonna say, because I think it's really important, Maureen Zeller, who was with our Sunday school kids this morning, she was on the Camino with us, and she gave a testimony that you may have seen, I think it got on social media, where she wanted to walk because she wanted to show the Sunday school kids that she could do it, and that it was an important thing to take these steps and to go on this journey. And she had been speaking with the Sunday school kids about it. They actually painted this little rock. This is what she brought, and it says St. James Sunday School and Youth Ministry. And then I put some rocks for my kids around here, a couple of shells and some rocks. But I think one thing to remember about the Iron Cross is that a lot of people come and they pray for everything that's there. I know I did. It was very moving to see, people had put rocks of, people who had passed away, things that they were leaving there, just very intentional things, and to stand there and pray for all of that, and to really recognize that this was for many people the pinnacle of their journey. But I just wanted you all to know that people will be praying for St. James, for our kids, for our youth ministry, every time they come up to the Iron Cross, as well as all of the things that we left there too. But I wanted to share that for Maureen because I know it was very important for her.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.